Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. This Monday, October 2, 2023, we start the week together, we start the month together, in which we have a lot of things to see, a lot of crypto news, a lot of analysis to understand the movement of BTC that we had Sunday evening, so last night, and I really wanted to thank you for this live that we had, which is in rebroadcast. In fact, don't hesitate to go and check it out, which was really a pure happiness for me, I also hope. For you, 145 Live, in which we covered lots of things, whether it's technical analysis, whether it's Bitcoin analyses, whether it's a discussion open and sincere about investing, crypto, and we'll get started right away. Before starting, I would like to tell you about the Rift community, which is the new name of the Discord, which is available directly here on rifters.fr with an S, in which we offer lots of things. The Discord, which has always been open to everyone, and much more, including training in which we have more than 60 hours of training, 130 videos, 400 pages of guides, with an educational path, tests, multiple choice questions to be able to test, and something that is offered for free. Either you can buy it for 400 euros or have it financed for free by our partner, a partner who is AVATRADE. I've already made a video for you on it. All you have to do is deposit 500 euros and use the platform. So you use the platform to trade and the training is funded directly, and that's available. I'll put all the links in comments and descriptions. And we immediately attacked the news with 3AC Capital. In particular, its co-founder, Suzui, that's it, has been arrested in Singapore. So there was a little controversy over it, why he hadn't stopped. It was done. That's it. So to know that 3AC Capital is what mainly led to the fall of Terra Luna and everything that followed, it was really a chain reaction because there was really an overexposure of 3AC Capital, which was also carried by Genesis. So obviously we saw here, unfortunately, a big player who had made it possible to have a huge bull run in 2020 and 2021, which completely and definitively closes the doors. This, which is rather positive, although Suzu explains that he was really in the perspective of having a mega cycle, therefore of not having a small 4-year cycle, but of having a breakup on it. And we see that it didn't go well, it didn't happen that way. And unfortunately, despite everything that happened, he's going to go back to prison. Well, he's going to go to prison in this case, something where there are allegations where he could go even further. It is for those, I think, that we will have more information later. Speaking of prison, we're going to talk about Sam Bankman-Fried, who is not free, in which he is already in prison, basically, for trying to get in touch with the witnesses, something which is still relatively complicated. And that's it. His trial begins, and we're going to see a little bit what will come out of this trial. Is it a charade? Is it something that will be processed immediately? What is interesting to see is that it has been almost a year since FTX fell. So it has been 10 months because it fell at the beginning of November, and it is the beginning of October, 11 months since FTX fell, in which a lot of people lost money. And in which finally there are the claims which are starting to be put in place, although we do not know how many percentages we will be able to recover. And I think it is a good thing that the trial is taking place and that we stop talking about that in order to move forward, that people can be reimbursed for what is going to be reimbursed, that we don't find ourselves on a mongox in which we will put 3 weights to recover the funds. Next, we have Coinbase stock. Coinbase, which is one of the main exchanges, if not the largest exchange, which is located in the United States, which is a partner of ETFs, whether Fidelity ETFs, BlackRock ETFs, has carried out a big campaign of communication. I spoke to you about it in the various daily newspapers, and it really made it possible to influence, in particular, the Democrats, who are rather anti-crypto, not to hide, on the importance of having regulation at the level. And it is progressing little by little, and the actions that are being undertaken by Coinbase are to be congratulated because it is really something that is important for all cryptos and for all the base countries. All the countries in which we have regulations that are moving in Europe with DaySate, which is in the process of evolving. So we are still far from the total validation of DaySate, but we are still getting closer. Or to put it simply, it is the tracking of every little cent of euros, of dollars that you are going to pass through your wallets, through your exchanges. Everything must be coordinated. We are no longer at all in the standard, which was originally supposed to be the same as the banks. Well, no, we're not there yet. We're even worse. And I think that's what also awaits the banks in the term. Tell me what you think about it in the comments, but I think it might cause quite a stir with DaySate if we ever start to use it elsewhere than in crypto. Bloomberg, which tells us that Precisely, the U.S. recession is still very present and will arrive soon. That's a very interesting type of communication, one from Bloomberg, in the sense that I explained to you that we were going to start having this type of communication to undermine morale a little and to sink a little deeper. Generally have a pre-recession before the recession, and this is exactly what is happening with, in particular, a set of news which will arrive this week with a speech from Powell, the manufacturing PMI, which will fall on Monday today. Today, we are going to see the JOLT report on Tuesday. We are then going to see the PMI, which are very important. There it will clearly be really scrutinized by the Fed to know if they should increase rates or not. If ever we have an economy which is calming down, because that's exactly what we want. We want an economy which is calming down. We want behind falling inflation, which is not only carried by oil, and we want an economy that sinks just enough to have inflation that is controlled. This is exactly what is being implemented, and it is reflected in the actions in which we have reached our target 1, or potentially soon 1 here at 4,276 of this bearish impulse with the Fibonacci extension, which is rather classic. I tend to tell you that I think we will look further down the 1,618 with the 4,100 to retest here this accumulation phase that we have. So there we are, really within our rather classic targets. I spoke to you about inflation, yes, because inflation will be linked mainly to the dollar and especially to oil, okay? We don't forget the oil, which is really at the top of the range. We are in the process of redirecting to the top of the range to potentially look for the 106. We had a little retracement that took place, but it's just to give you a little perspective. We just did a retracement here. It makes perfect sense to have first retracement, second, third, to have here work from the bottom of the range and then leave again. For the moment, we are in a very long-term range zone, and yes, this is what will allow us to have controlled inflation. Clearly, there is not a very strong interest in having very low oil, especially for countries like OPEC, the BRICS, in which we have a meeting moreover. OPEC, a meeting on Wednesday, in which we risk of having more news which will push it upwards. So I'm not worried about what is likely to happen. If we define here as weekly, there is a good chance of going to retest a little bit higher, to go and retest these levels, the 100, 101, 102. It seems completely logical to me. With news from OPEC, which will say that overall they will further reduce the number of barrels to raise prices, relatively strong reaction, reduction of the candle, and then we will see, are we stabilizing here for bearish continuity, or are we really going to look for the top of the range, and therefore this is really annoying everyone, we're not going to hide it. Then another little news at the macro level, something which is important, in which we have had a very strong acceleration in terms of the difference between the 2-year and the 10-year at the level of the American bonds. And for me, it's rather positive. I would like us to go very quickly to find the zeros and then have this little recession that we wish to have. We say we wish, it's a party, of course, to then be able to structure ourselves differently and have a shift from liquidity towards a return of liquidity to stocks to go a little further. BTC, we had a big candle yesterday, classic. At the same time, we are starting to get used to seeing this type of candle there on Sunday at 22 o'clock, even 2 o'clock in the morning on Monday, in which we has liquidity, and liquidation of the shorts. So we actually liquidated here all this liquidity that was there, and we took this top here with just a very small wick. We see that the very small wick has been carried out. For me, this is not enough. My target still remains here, the 1 and the 1.1. With this effective retest of this zone, which will potentially be a reload of shorts for me, in which I will make a bearish continuity with an invalidation above 31,000, okay, 30,000, then exactly 30,800. But there you go, an invalidation which risks being quite high. So for me here, I potentially have an entry, a short entry reinforcement that I always have present and that I have already called for quite a long time. So here we are, rather in something which is normal, in which we have a rupture, and acceleration following a rupture of the range. We have not made a reintegration. So we have an upward acceleration during the rupture here, with behind a liquidation of shorts, which was relatively blatant. We will see it here, in which we liquidated this whole part there, and which is rather coherent. We really liquidated this whole part, which had been built since September 20th, so we had time to build it, and we can clearly see that the more time has passed, the more we build it, the more we have had this bullish acceleration, the more we started trying to build additional shorts to liquidate them in a single candle. It's rather the classic. We're really used to seeing that, and when we look at the liquidations that are currently being built, and we take a little step back, we see that it works very well. We are managing to build long liquidity, which is very present. So for me here, we really have a price call. We still have quite a few shorts. That's why I'm telling you that we can look a little higher. We can even really look for a very small aggressive wick, up to, we will say, 30,500, to recover this small liquidity, and this liquidity which is there, before making a bearish continuity. We will advise me at that time, in any case, what will be really essential. It helps to do something like that, okay? So a bullish acceleration, see this, there. We have something which is interesting in which we have information that we can enter to make a strengthening of shorts, because we will have here a bullish expansion, liquidation, rejection, retest, and therefore confirmation of the rejection and a bearish breakout, a bearish acceleration. And this is what I will look for personally, in any case, in the days to come, in the weeks to come. If ever we validate well this bullish acceleration, could we very well stop there and say, hop, chow, we're sinking again. So here we are still relatively far away, or even quite simply, chow, we are breaking upwards. But why don't I actually believe in this increase? Well, for several things. One, we don't have elements endogenous to crypto that push us. Clearly, the macro is horrible. The crypto is on hold. So for me, there is nothing that explains this type of movement and that goes in the direction of this upward movement. It's not a bull run. We're not in a bullish acceleration. We're generally in a phase of lateralization where we go from the bottom of a range to the top of the range, bottom of the range, top of the range. D agreement? So for the moment, there is nothing new. Here we are more in a retest of the middle of the range. So we could have a small deviation here for then. Okay, it's lower. That's what I'm going to play. But if we're going to retest here potentially the 30,500, which is the top of the range, well, it will be the 30,500 for the top of the range. So we are in this dynamic there. So we take hindsight once again in relation to what is happening and the retest of the 25,000 and the breakout of the 25,000. It will have to be done with force. And is that don't we need news, whether at the crypto level or at the macro level, to cause the decline enough to break it? I think so too. And why do I also think that this upward acceleration is not sustained and is not promising? Several things. Is that one, when we look at the order flow, we see here at the level of the open interest that the open interest is broken, and we return to around 80. So we liquidated, in fact, all the old shorts. So it's really a desire to liquidate these shorts, in which we are in the process of rebuilding a little bit. We have very little movement at the level of the top traders. So that implies that here, the small upward movement is the movement of validation, so it is not bought by the top traders. So there is no effective volume to be able to push. So that's why we are ecstatic about a little momentum. And when we look here at the volatility and retrace, we see that we are still very, very low in volatility. So no, we don't have volatility. We don't have volume. We just have a small movement which comes out of the range that we had already defined for some time. So for me, we are in something classic, and especially since the CVDs are the CVD perps, which are growing very little the spot, a bit of a spot, because we have a valuation of the price, but basically it is mainly the perpetual which is growing. So for me, we are in something which is more a hunt to liquidate than anything else. We don't have a real movement that is set up that could change if we ever had really strong news. Well, in this case, that's not the case. We're not going to have any news. And I don't think that this is the validation of the future Ethereum ETFs, which will change something on BTC. We are still far from this type of correlation. So we take a step back from all that. I hope this video has helped you. If so, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment. It always makes me very happy, and we'll meet at 13:30 to talk about TRX, Tron's Crypto.